The night before graduation, I found out that my girlfriend of 4 years, Chloe, had been secretly supporting a student from a low-income background. Every bit of money she saved from her monthly allowance had been quietly handed over to him. I confronted her, phone in hand, the evidence glowing on the screen between us. She didn't say a word all night. Not a denial. Not an excuse. Just silence. Finally she spoke. Her voice was flat, almost tired. Yes, I feel sorry for him. Are you happy now? 4 years together, undone by that single admission. I couldn't accept it ending like that. I wiped my tears, straightened myself, and stood beside her in line for the graduation photo, pretending my world hadn't just cracked apart. That was when her roommate, Jessica, came running toward us. Her face was pale, her breath uneven. Chloe, Leo heard you're getting engaged to Ethan after graduation, she blurted out. He swallowed a bottle of sleeping pills in his dorm. Chloe's diploma slipped from her fingers and hit the ground with a sharp clatter. She turned and bolted, moving like a flash of lightning. I tightened my grip on my own diploma and shouted after her, my voice breaking through the chaos. If you walk out of here today, I'll take it as you choosing to marry him. Her steps faltered for a single second. Just one dot, then, without even a shred of hesitation, she disappeared into the crowd. I stood there, frozen. The tassel of my graduation cap dangled and swayed in front of my eyes. Around me, laughter mixed with shocked gasps, the air thick with confusion. On the stage, the university president clutched the microphone, glancing from me to the direction Chloe had run. Completely at a loss for words, Chloe's parents rushed over, their expressions dark with anger and embarrassment. They grabbed my hand tightly. Ethan, we'll drag that wretched girl back here right now, her father said. She's gone too far. I shook my head, slowly rolling up my diploma. Mr. and Mrs. Davis, I said quietly, just let her go. My own parents looked even worse. My father's face was pale with rage, his jaw clenched so tight it trembled. Tears streamed down my mother's cheeks as she cried, "What is this supposed to be? A graduation? An engagement party? How could she humiliate the Miller family like this?" I stepped down from the platform and took my mother's arm. "Mom," I said softly, "I'll take you and Dad home." The scene was a complete mess. Jessica ran up to me, wringing her hands, her voice shaking with guilt. "Ethan, I'm so sorry. Leo's situation was just so critical." I stared at her without saying a word. Jessica had shared a room with Chloe for 4 years. She knew Leo too. In their eyes, Leo was always the one who needed protecting, but someone who was truly fragile wouldn't choose to try to end their life on what was supposed to be the most important day of someone else's. I picked up my diploma and walked away from the place where we were supposed to be celebrating. My phone buzzed relentlessly in my pocket. I didn't answer. I already knew it was Chloe. She would explain. She would apologize. She would tell me how dangerous Leo's condition was, and how she had no other choice but to go to him. We had been together for 4 years. I knew her inside and out. She carried an overwhelming sense of responsibility, especially toward anyone she believed she had wronged. Back in our sophomore year, during a review session for financial aid applications, Chloe, then the student government president, had publicly questioned the documents Leo submitted. She thought parts of his application didn't add up. Later, it turned out to be a misunderstanding. Leo hadn't lied, he had simply filled out the paperwork poorly. Still, the incident made him a laughingstock in our department. And it became a sickness that rooted itself deep in Chloe's heart. The guilt haunted her for 2 long years. I used to think she was right to help him. She had made a mistake, and making amends felt appropriate. Only today did I finally understand that some forms of compensation cross a line that can't be uncrossed. Back in my dorm room, I tore off my cap and gown and changed into regular clothes. I knew Leo would have been taken to the University Medical Center, the closest hospital to campus. I grabbed my keys and headed out. In the emergency room, just as I expected, Chloe was sitting beside his bed. Leo lay there with an IV drip in his arm. His face was pale, his eyes closed, his lashes still damp with tears. Chloe held his free hand tightly, her brow drawn with worry. When she saw me, she jumped to her feet, regret flooding her eyes. "Ethan, you came. I'm so sorry about today." She hesitated, then asked, "How is he?" I cut her off, my gaze fixed on Leo. The doctor said they pumped his stomach in time. He's not in danger, just weak and emotionally unstable. I nodded once. That's good. Then I turned to leave. Chloe grabbed my wrist. Ethan, please don't be angry. This is my fault. I can't just abandon him. He's just a kid from a poor family, Chloe said softly. It's so tragic. I pulled my arm free from her grip. Chloe, I'm not angry, I said. I just think it says a lot that our graduation ceremony wasn't as important to you as a guy you've known for 2 years. That's not true, Ethan, she replied immediately. You're the most important person in the world to me. But he was dying. The doctor said he wasn't going to die, I said, my voice eerily calm even to my own ears. Chloe's lips parted, but nothing came out. At that moment, Leo stirred on the bed. His eyelids fluttered open, unfocused at first. Then he saw me. Instantly, tears poured down his face. Ethan, I'm so sorry, he choked out. It's all my fault. I didn't mean to. I saw the pictures from your graduation and I started thinking about my own future and I just lost control. His voice broke. I'm so sorry I ruined your special day. He sobbed uncontrollably, his entire body trembling. Chloe immediately sat back down beside him, her voice gentle as she soothed him. It's okay. It's all in the past now. Don't think about it. You just need to rest. Then she looked up at me, a faint accusation flickering in her eyes. See? He's already like this. Can't you show a little compassion? I didn't respond. I simply turned around and walked out. Outside the hospital doors, the hot summer wind pressed thick and sticky against my face. It wasn't until then that I realized my hands were shaking and wouldn't stop. The next morning, Chloe was waiting outside my dorm building with breakfast. I buzzed open the main door but told her to stay downstairs. She handed me the bag, forcing a pleading smile. Ethan, I wanted to apologize for Leo. He was just really emotional yesterday. He didn't mean any of it. What? I said flatly. He can't speak for himself? He needs you to apologize for him? Chloe's smile froze. He's still very weak, she said. Chloe, let's forget about him for a second and talk about us, I said, meeting her eyes. Our graduation was ruined. Our engagement is a joke. What are you going to tell our families? All our friends? She went quiet for a moment. We'll wait for things to die down, she said finally. Then we can have a small dinner party for everyone. A dinner party? I laughed, the sound bitter and empty. You really think a dinner party is going to fix this? Well, what else can we do? She snapped, frustration slipping through. It already happened. Ethan, I know you're upset, but Leo comes from nothing and he almost died. Can't you find it in your heart to pity him and be a little more understanding? There it was again. Understanding. I took the breakfast from her hands and set it down on a nearby step. I get it, I said. You should go. He's all alone at the hospital and needs someone to take care of him. Chloe visibly relaxed, clearly thinking I had given in. I knew you had a good heart, she said. Don't worry. As soon as he's discharged and stable, I promise I'll make it up to you. She turned and walked away. I watched her leave. Then I picked up the breakfast from the steps and tossed it into the nearest trash can. Later, I went to the administration building to file my checkout paperwork. On the way, I passed the University Medical Center and, on a strange impulse, I went inside. I wanted to see Leo for myself. He was propped up in bed, scrolling through his phone and laughing with the patient beside him. He looked perfectly fine. The moment he saw me step into the room, his smile vanished, instantly replaced by a miserable, pitiful expression. Ethan, you came? I nodded. Just wanted to see how you were doing. I walked over, picked up the chart from the bedside table, and flipped through it. Looks like you're recovering well. You'll probably be discharged tomorrow. Yeah, he mumbled, lowering his head. Thanks for coming all this way to see me. Don't mention it, I said. Just don't do anything stupid like this again. It's your life. He bit his lip, tears welling up again. I know, Ethan, it's just... Sometimes I really can't take it anymore. I didn't reply. I set the chart back down and walked out of the room. That afternoon, I found my friend Anna, who was doing her internship at the medical center. Hey, I asked, do you remember the guy who was rushed in yesterday for swallowing pills? Leo Carter? Anna thought for a moment. Oh yeah, I remember him, she said. A gorgeous girl brought him in. She was practically carrying him. She looked pale with panic. What about the dosage he took? I asked. Oh, and don't even get me started, Anna scoffed. It was a few vitamin C tablets mixed with maybe 2 sleeping pills he got from God knows where. The dose was smaller than what I take some nights just to fall asleep. She rolled her eyes. It was all for show. He came in sobbing his eyes out, but every doctor and nurse there knew what was going on. It was a performance. He was never in any danger. My heart sank piece by piece. That evening, Chloe invited me to dinner, saying she wanted to celebrate my acceptance into the graduate program. She was in unusually high spirits, telling me that Leo had already been discharged, and that she'd gotten him settled. I made a reservation at that steakhouse you love, she said as we drove. She kept reaching for my hand. But every time I pulled away, Ethan, I know I've put you through a lot lately, she said. I know I owe you a graduation. Just wait. I promise I'll make it up to you with something even bigger and better. I didn't respond. I just stared out the window, watching the city lights slide past in silence. Chloe, I said suddenly, how much money do you give Leo every month? She froze. Not much. I give him half of my allowance. Chloe's family was wealthy. The allowance her parents gave her was generous. Half of it was no small amount. Didn't he apply for financial aid from the university? He did, she replied quickly, but it wasn't enough. And you know how proud he is. He's too embarrassed to ask his family for more. So you've just been bankrolling him, I said, my voice turning cold. Chloe frowned, irritation creeping into her tone. Ethan, what is that supposed to mean? Bankrolling him? Her voice rose. I'm atoning for a mistake I made. I almost destroyed his reputation. I'm just trying to make sure he never has to worry about money for the rest of his life. Is that so wrong? I said nothing. The air inside the car turned icy. We finished our entire meal at the restaurant in near total silence. On the drive back, Chloe's phone rang. It was Leo. She answered immediately, her voice softening the instant she heard him. What's wrong? Are you feeling sick? You're dizzy again? She tightened her grip on the steering wheel. Don't be scared. Don't move. I'm on my way right now. After she hung up, she forced a smile. Ethan, I'll drop you at your dorm first. Then I need to go over to Leo's. He lives alone and gets scared easily. I watched her quietly for a moment. Chloe, I asked, who is he to you? Her smile froze. He's a student I mentor. So you're responsible for him for the rest of his life? I said evenly. That includes fixing his fuse box? Ethan, she snapped. Why are you being so impossible? He's all alone. He just got out of the hospital and the power is out in his room. Am I supposed to ignore that? He could call the RERA, I said. Or ask a friend. It's not the same, she insisted. He doesn't trust anyone else. I let out a quiet laugh. Right, he only trusts you. I reached over and opened the car door. Don't worry about dropping me off. I'll walk. Go on. Your special student is waiting for you. I stepped out and slammed the door shut. Chloe's car idled behind me for a moment. Then drove off toward Leo's dorm. After that night, we entered a cold war. Chloe didn't contact me. I didn't contact her. The apartment we had rented together off campus for graduate school was already set up, ready for us to move in right after graduation. I went there alone. The place felt enormous and empty. We had chosen every piece of furniture together. I sat on the sofa for a long time, not moving. A week later, Chloe called. Her voice sounded worn and exhausted. Ethan, we need to talk. We met at the new apartment. She looked thinner, dark circles heavy beneath her eyes. Ethan, I'm sorry, she said. I know I've been awful lately. Leo's been really emotionally unstable and I've had to spend a lot of time with him. I didn't say anything. I just watched her, waiting. I know you must be upset. She continued, but Ethan, we've been together for 4 years. Don't you know me by now? With Leo, it's really just guilt and responsibility. Nothing more. I know, I said. She let out a breath of relief. I knew you'd understand. She stepped toward me. Reaching out for a hug, I took a step back out of her reach. Chloe, I came here today to tell you that I don't want this apartment. She froze, her arms still lifted halfway in the air. What are you talking about? We rented it together. Yes, I said calmly, but the lease is in your name and you paid the security deposit. I don't want it anymore. Why, Ethan? Panic crept into her voice. This is supposed to be our home. Because one day, I replied, when Leo's fuse box blows again or his pipes get clogged, you'll decide he needs a home more than I do. The color drained from Chloe's face. Ethan, do you have to be so cruel? She asked. Do you have to say things just to hurt me? Am I not telling the truth? I said quietly. You say you're just doing him a small favor. Running out of our graduation in front of thousands of people was a small favor. Giving him half of your allowance every month is a small favor. Chloe, you do way too many of these small favors. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Finally, she took a deep, shuddering breath. Fine, Ethan, if that's what you think, then I'll show you. She stared straight into my eyes and enunciated every single word. I'm going to have Leo move in here in a few days. He can take the spare bedroom. My mind went completely blank. What did you just say? I'm moving Leo in, she shouted, as if trying to convince me or maybe herself. I can't trust him to be alone in the dorms. Something always happens. If he's living right here under our roof, I can keep an eye on him. Then you won't have to worry either. That should solve everything, right? I stared at her as if she were a complete stranger. Chloe, you're insane. I'm not insane, she shot back. I'm perfectly rational. I can't let anything else happen to him. It's my responsibility. She emphasized every single word. A wave of exhaustion swept over me. A weariness so deep it settled into my bones. Fine, I said quietly. Let him move in. She looked stunned that I had agreed so easily. I reached into my bag, took out my key, and placed it on the coffee table. Here's your key back. From now on, this can be a home for you and your student. I hope you'll both be very happy here. I stood up and walked out of the apartment I had once been so excited about. As the door clicked shut behind me, I thought I heard something shatter inside. The tears I had been holding back finally fell. 4 years over, just like that, I had broken up with Chloe. I didn't tell anyone. Not even my parents. I simply moved back into my old dorm room on campus. Chloe never reached out to me again. She was probably busy getting her precious student settled. In her mind, I was likely just throwing a tantrum and would come around in a few days. Life went on. I buried myself in my graduate studies. But the campus was small, and avoiding them was impossible. I'd see Chloe and Leo everywhere. One day, she'd be helping him find books in the library. The next, she'd be saving him a seat in the dining hall. Leo was practically glued to her side. And Chloe allowed it. Whenever we crossed paths, Chloe's eyes would flick away. Her lips would part as if she wanted to speak, but no words ever came. She'd furrow her brow and turn away. Leo would lower his head, wearing that same perpetual expression of victimhood. That semester, the law school welcomed a new visiting lecturer, Dr. Sarah Jennings. She was young, brilliant, and had just come from a top firm in New York. One day, Chloe brought Leo to sit in on one of Dr. Jennings's lectures. That day's discussion topic was the legal boundaries of compensation for emotional distress in tort law. Leo raised his hand. When he stood, his voice trembled. Professor, I believe the party at fault should be required to pay indefinitely, until the victim feels their emotional debt has been settled. There should be no limit to that responsibility. Dr. Jennings adjusted her glasses, her gaze sharp. Young man, the law is about proportionality. Rights and obligations are reciprocal. We seek reasonable compensation, not what you're describing. She paused, then continued evenly. What you're describing is emotional blackmail. If we elevate personal guilt above the legal code, then what is the point of having laws at all? Leo froze, and I watched the color drain from Chloe's face. She shot to her feet. Professor, what are you implying? I'm implying, Dr. Jennings replied calmly, that this young man's opinion lacks the rational foundation required for legal thought. It sounds less like jurisprudence and more like an excuse for certain behaviors. Dr. Jennings looked at Chloe coolly. And you are what? She asked. His legal counsel? Before Chloe could answer, Dr. Jennings's gaze shifted past her and landed squarely on me. Ethan Miller, she said, why don't you explain the proper liability and scope of damages in this case? Chloe grabbed Leo's arm and pulled him toward the door. They left the lecture hall together. As she walked out, she shot me a look, one that clearly blamed me for not defending them. After class, as I was packing my bag in the hallway, Dr. Jennings approached me. Your girlfriend? She asked. Ex-girlfriend. I replied without looking up. Dr. Jennings simply nodded and didn't push further. After that day, I applied to become a research assistant on one of her projects, and she accepted me. The work was intense, long hours spent reviewing case law and academic papers, but it kept my mind occupied and safely away from the drama I didn't want to think about. My parents began growing anxious when I stopped mentioning my engagement to Chloe, knowing I couldn't hide it forever. I finally told them the truth. We broke up. My mother nearly fainted. Why? What happened? Did that girl do something to hurt you? I didn't tell them about Leo. I didn't want them sharing in my humiliation. I just said we wanted different things, that we had grown tired. My father stayed silent for a long moment. Then he walked over and placed a hand on my shoulder. Then it's for the best, he said quietly. A son of mine as exceptional as you won't have any trouble finding someone else. Chloe's parents came to see me as well. Their eyes were rimmed red, and they looked as though they'd aged years overnight. Ethan, Mr. Davis said, Chloe has done you a terrible wrong. We failed as parents, and we're here to apologize on her behalf. Mr. and Mrs. Davis, I said, this isn't your fault. It was between her and me. That boy Leo, Mrs. Davis said, her face tight with worry. We know everything. That foolish girl moved him into the apartment. We went there. We yelled at her. We begged her, but it's like she's been bewitched. She keeps saying we don't understand, that we're heartless. Mrs. Davis, I said gently, you have to let it go. Let her be. Everyone has to live with the consequences of their choices. Chloe had chosen her so-called responsibility, and now she would have to bear everything that came with it. After that, I began actively avoiding anywhere I might run into Chloe and Leo. I poured all my time and energy into Dr. Jennings's research project. Our team was scheduled to spend 2 weeks in a remote village overseas, conducting a field study on local customary law. The night before we left, I attended a reunion with some old high school friends. A guy named Mike was there. He also attended Westwood University, though he was in a different department, so I didn't know him well. He looked surprised when he saw me. Ethan Miller? You're here? He'd had a few beers and was feeling talkative. Hey man, let me tell you some gossip. You know that kid Leo Carter from school? The one who's supposedly on a full scholarship? My stomach dropped. I know him. Yeah, he's from my hometown. We went to the same high school. His family isn't poor at all. His dad's a construction contractor, owns like 3 houses back home. The guy's a total fraud. He just loves playing the victim to get sympathy. My hand froze halfway to my lips, the glass of water suspended in the air. What did you just say? I'm serious, man. I swear, Mike said. His older brother just bought a brand new SUV, like 70 grand. He posted pictures on Facebook, then deleted them later. Everyone from our hometown knows he's faking being poor to scam the university for financial aid. We all think he's a loser and can't even be bothered to call him out. The blood in my veins seemed to turn to ice. A rich kid, pretending to be poor, and a fool so consumed by guilt. She'd lost all reason. What a perfect pair. Pulled out my phone and searched for Leo's iMessage profile. But all of his public posts were set to private. I handed my phone to Mike. Can you find his brother's Facebook page? Mike took my phone and tapped around for a minute. Yeah, this is the one. He just bought it last month. The photo showed a man about my age leaning against a gleaming black SUV, grinning broadly. Behind him stood a large, well-renovated 2-story house. I saved the photo to my phone. After the party, I received a text from Chloe. It was the first time she had contacted me in the month since our fight. Ethan. Leo's birthday is coming up, Chloe texted. He's always admired that watch you used to wear. Could you tell me where you got it? I want to buy one for him. I stared at the message for a long moment, then laughed. I typed back, sure. Meet me at the south gate of campus. I'll bring it to you. I printed out the photo of the SUV and slid it into an envelope. Then I took the authentic watch my father had given me, expensive, real, and placed it into another identical envelope. I waited for her at the south gate. When Chloe arrived, she looked even more worn down than the last time I'd seen her. Her face was pale, her eyes dull with exhaustion. Ethan, she said. For just a second, a flicker of hope crossed her eyes when she saw me. I held out the 2 envelopes. In one of these, I said evenly, is the authentic watch my father gave me. It's very expensive. In the other is a knockoff I bought downtown for $50. Chloe stared at them, completely baffled. Pick one, I said. A birthday present for your dear Leo. She just looked at me, confusion filling her eyes. Go on, I urged. Choose. Let's see if your precious student is worth the real thing or just the cheap imitation. I pressed the envelopes into her hands and turned away. She didn't try to stop me. The next day, I was on a plane with Dr. Jennings and the research team, heading out for our field study. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. A week later, I received a frantic call from Jessica. Her voice was shaking, on the verge of tears. Ethan, you have to come back. Something happened to Chloe. A tight knot of dread formed in my stomach. What happened? It's her and Leo, she said. They were in an accident. Both of them. When I landed, Dr. Jennings was waiting for me at the airport. Her expression was calm and composed. I heard what happened, she said. Get in, I'll drive you to the hospital. On the way, I pieced together the story from Jessica's broken, tearful explanations. Apparently, after Chloe went home with the 2 envelopes, she and Leo had a massive fight. Jessica didn't know which envelope Chloe chose or what exactly she said. But Leo became hysterical, screaming that I had insulted him and that Chloe had never truly trusted him. He stormed out. Chloe got into her car and chased after him. They were driving along a winding road in the hills when the argument started again, louder, fiercer than before. Leo completely lost control and grabbed the steering wheel from Chloe. The car swerved, smashed through the guardrail, and tumbled down the embankment. The light outside the operating room stayed on all night. Just as dawn began to break, a doctor stepped out, his face lined with exhaustion. Who is the family of the patient? Chloe's parents rushed forward. Doctor, Mr. Davis said urgently, our daughter, how is she? The patient, Chloe Davis, suffered a shattered wrist and severe nerve damage, the doctor said. We've done everything we can, but it's very likely that she will lose most of the function in her hand. Mrs. Davis's legs gave out, and she collapsed to the floor. I had to press myself against the wall, just to stay standing. Chloe was a prodigy in the university's fast-track medical program. Her dream was to become a top surgeon. Her hands were her entire future. And the man who was with her? I asked, my voice trembling. The doctor glanced at me. The man, Leo Carter, suffered a mild concussion and some cuts and bruises. He'll be fine. The doctor hesitated, then added, oh, and for what it's worth, the police found a debit card in his wallet. The account balance was over $70,000. He paused. Doesn't exactly scream low-income student. Chloe was awake. She lay in her hospital bed, staring blankly at the ceiling tiles. Her arm, wrapped in a heavy cast, rested on a pillow beside her. I pushed the door open. Her eyes brightened for just a second when she saw me, then dulled again almost immediately. Ethan. She rasped. I placed a stack of her old medical textbooks on the bedside table. The university board met, I said quietly. They're allowing you to keep your enrollment status. But with your hand, she closed her eyes, saying nothing. The police finished their investigation, I continued. They determined Leo was primarily at fault for grabbing the steering wheel. She still didn't speak. Leo is in the room next door, I said. His parents are here. That finally got a reaction. They drove up in a brand new luxury car, I added. Wearing designer clothes. Slowly, Chloe turned her head to face me. So, she whispered, it was all a lie? Yes, I said flatly. A single tear slipped from the corner of her eye and traced a slow path down her temple. Ethan, she said softly, I am so sorry. I looked at her. You don't owe me an apology, I said quietly. You owe one to yourself. To your parents who sacrificed so much for you. And to the white coat you'll never get to wear. I turned toward the door. Don't go, she cried, her voice breaking, desperate and pleading. Ethan, can you please give me another chance? I stopped in the doorway but didn't turn around. Chloe, the moment you ran out of our graduation for him, we were already over. Is it because of Leo? She sobbed. I was a fool. He tricked me. It's not because of him, I said. It's because time and time again, you chose him. You chose him over me at our graduation. You chose him over our future home. You chose to scream at me and freeze me out. All for him. And now you've chosen to throw away your entire career for him. Chloe, what was it about him that was worth all this? She went silent. After a long moment, I heard her voice again, choked and fragile. I don't know, I felt like I owed him. Whatever you thought you owed him, I said. I shouldn't have been the one to pay the price. I pulled the door open and walked out. Sarah Jennings was standing there. She handed me a bottle of water. You heard all that? I asked. She nodded. A woman like that isn't worth your pain. I twisted the cap and took a long drink. The cool water did nothing to settle the chaos inside me. I know, I said. Even with physical therapy, the damage to her hand will have permanent consequences. She'd never be able to perform the fine motor tasks required for surgery. My hand paused mid-movement. Sarah looked at me. Do you feel sorry for her? I shook my head. No, I was just thinking. She never hold a scalpel again. Leo was expelled from the university for financial aid fraud and felony reckless endangerment. He was facing serious legal charges. His parents tried to offer the Davis family a large sum of money to drop the charges. But they refused without hesitation. Mr. Davis simply looked at them and said, "No amount of money can buy back my daughter's future." Chloe began physical therapy. It was agonizing. She was drenched in sweat every day, but she never complained. Jessica came to see me once. "Ethan, I know I shouldn't be here," she said, "but Chloe is in a really bad place. The university transferred her to the public health program. Her parents are barely speaking to her. And now there's the lawsuit against Leo. I'm just so worried she's going to give up. And what do you want me to do about it?" I asked. "Go take care of her. Comfort her. Tell her it's all going to be okay. Whatever we had for 4 years," I said, "ended the moment she ran out of our graduation for another man." I didn't see Chloe again after that. Her parents picked her up the day she was discharged from the hospital. I heard she started practicing how to write with her left hand, her new handwriting clumsy and misshapen. We saw each other once, from opposite sides of a crowded hospital lobby. She had lost a frightening amount of weight, her eyes hollow. She looked 10 years older. I turned away and stepped into the elevator with Sarah. Life, it seemed, finally began to return to normal. Sarah started pursuing me. She brought me coffee in the mornings, waited patiently when I worked late on my research, and invited me to see new movies. I didn't say no, but I didn't say yes right away either. My mother was thrilled. "Ethan, Dr. Jennings is wonderful," she said. "She's so accomplished and mature for her age. You need to hold on to her." I just smiled and said nothing. It felt like I had lost the ability to love anyone. 6 months later, I ran into Chloe at the grocery store. She was carrying a shopping basket in her left hand, slowly sorting through vegetables on her own. Her movements were careful and deliberate. Her injured right hand hung limply at her side, stiff and unnatural. She froze when she saw me, then a painful smile, more of a grimace, spread across her face. "Ethan, long time no see." We stood on opposite sides of the aisle, cereal boxes forming a quiet barrier between us. "Are you doing okay?" she finally asked. "I'm doing great," I said. "That's good," she replied softly. "That's good." She lifted her basket and walked past me, moving slowly. From behind, she looked small, alone. That evening, as Sarah and I were leaving work, I told her about running into Chloe. She took my "It's all in the past now." "Yeah," Sarah said, looking at me seriously. "Ethan, I know you're still healing from a deep wound. And that's okay. I'm willing to wait. Whenever you're ready, we can start moving forward together." I looked at her, and suddenly my eyes burned. "Sarah, that's not fair to you." "In love," she said softly, "there's no fair. There's only that night." I told her I was ready. We started dating. Our life wasn't dramatic, but it was stable and peaceful. Sarah was busy with her career, and I was busy with mine, but we always made time for each other. She remembered all my favorite things and brought me food when I stayed up late working on a brief. I cooked her celebratory dinners whenever she won a major case. Our love wasn't a wildfire. It was a quiet, steady flame. I thought the name Chloe Davis would slowly fade out of my life. Then one day, I received her wedding invitation in the mail. I didn't recognize the groom's name. He was a classmate from her public health program, a plain-looking guy. The wedding was held at a modest hotel downtown. I didn't attend, but Sarah sent a gift on our behalf. Later, I heard from Jessica that Chloe didn't smile once during the entire wedding. When it was time for the toasts, someone encouraged her to say a few words. She stood there for a long time, holding the microphone in silence. Finally, all she said was, "Thank you for being willing to marry me." After I graduated from law school, I accepted a position at Sarah's firm, and we became colleagues. We got engaged. Then we got married. Everything felt natural. I thought my parents were overjoyed. Chloe's parents sent an incredibly generous wedding gift, along with a note saying they would always feel guilty for the 4 years of my life their daughter had wasted. I told them it was all in the past. In our second year of marriage, Sarah and I had a child, a beautiful little girl with her mother's eyes and my nose. Sarah was a wonderful wife and an even better mother. She said she never wanted to miss a single moment of our daughter's life. My life was happier than I ever could have dreamed. The only news I ever heard about Chloe came from Jessica, whom I ran into years later at an alumni event. She told me that after graduation, Chloe had moved back to her small hometown and taken an administrative job at a local clinic. The work was simple and didn't require fine motor skills. She and her husband had a son, and their life was quiet and unremarkable, neither happy nor sad. Her ruined hands still ached on cold, rainy days. She never held a pen with it again, let alone a scalpel. She who had once been a prodigy, the brightest star in any room, was now just an ordinary person living an ordinary life. Jessica sighed. She completely ruined her own life. I had nothing to say. Leo was eventually convicted. Fraud, reckless endangerment. A long list of charges. He went to prison. Chloe never broke a single law, but, in a way, she had sentenced herself to life imprisonment, forever trapped inside the prison of her past. One day, I was at the park with Sarah and our daughter when I saw a familiar figure. She was sitting alone on a park bench, watching a kite dance in the wind. Streaks of gray threaded through her hair, and her shoulders were slumped. Sarah followed my gaze. "Is that her?" I nodded. Just then, our daughter's balloon slipped from her grasp and floated into the sky. She burst into tears. The sound snapped me back to reality. I knelt to comfort her, but Sarah had already scooped her up, lifting her high into the air. "No more tears, sweetie," she said gently. "Come on, Mommy will buy you a brand new one." "How about that?" Our daughter's sobs dissolved into giggles. The three of us walked on, our laughter echoing through the park. I didn't look back, but I could feel her eyes on us, watching as we went. I knew that gaze would follow us for a long, long time until we turned the corner and disappeared from view. Just as I had once watched her back as she walked away from me without a moment's hesitation. We had both reached a crossroads. She chose a path of penance. I chose to save myself. Now, all these years later, the dust has finally settled. We ended up on two completely different roads, living two completely different lives. And in the end, that was all it was. A choice made, and a consequence.